Just as a means of introduction, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for coming out. If it's not for folks like you and I that care, that spread the word, that raise awareness, we really don't move forward. So help me in welcoming up David Armanasco with the Monterey County for Energy Independence.
So this evening, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to begin by talking about Monterey County's oil production legacy, supporting the jobs and the local economy, which has been ongoing for 70 years in Monterey County from the oil industry, the oil production, the California way, why energy independence matters, and stopping the oil and gas shutdown. Because what this measure does is, Steve went into it briefly, but what it does is it will shut down the oil and gas industry in Monterey County.
Please help me in welcoming Ed Mitchell from Protect Monterey County.
I'm Ed Mitchell, a longtime resident of Trinidad. About 8 years ago, I spoke up when the first fracking permit came before the Board of Supervisors.
Can you take down the screen?
Yeah,
Since then, I've been working with friends to protect our water resources in the county from the negative impacts of fracking. Tonight, I'm going to share with you my insights into the initiative versus the high-risk contract that the fracking industry wants the public to have to handle. The initiative to ban fracking is about protecting our water. It's not about oil. It's about preventing toxic fracking fluids from being injected and stored in our local water basin forever, threatening all future generations. It's about allowing traditional oil jobs to continue in San Ardo while protecting the economic well-being of the county's ag, vintner, real estate, hospitality industry jobs. And the initiative is supported by tens of thousands of voters in all parts of the county. The Protect Our Water initiative submitted to the Register of Voters specifically allows current oil operations to continue, despite what you heard a moment ago. Because I know that's true, because I helped write the first 3 drafts of the effort, and I worked with many people that specifically wanted to protect the jobs in San Ardo. So let me quote to you from the first page of the initiative. This initiative does not prohibit oil and gas operations from using existing oil and gas wells in the county, which number over 1,500 at the time this initiative was submitted. Who's being deceptive here? What is said in the initiative or what you were told? Section 2, I and others went on to try and ensure that the operations that have been going on would be specified and they could continue, and I quote, these are what are allowed to continue: steam flooding, water flooding, cyclic steaming, clean out, well maintenance, routine removal of formation damage due to drilling, bottom hole pressure surveys, routine activities that do not affect the integrity of the well. And by the way, the definition of stimulation comes from SB 4, and it talks about, defines that as being hydraulic fracking, acidation, and that type of stuff. What's been going on is allowed to go on, and there are people here tonight trying to deceive you. You need to think about that.
Thank you, Ed. My name is Jim Eggelston. About 1.5 years ago, I retired from the practice of law. I was a laborer in civil rights attorney. And we moved down here to the beautiful Monterey coast. We bought a home for our son and granddaughter in Oak Hills up in North County. That's why I'm here as a volunteer. I care deeply about the future of my children, grandchildren, and their children and grandchildren. The existing industry is allowed to continue. Measure Z means 0 job loss. It means 0 loss of taxes to Monterey County. And it's simply untrue. Their whole case, no matter how many fancy slides they want to put up here, is all premised on one big lie. Shutdown. It's untrue.
So, oil was discovered in San Ardo in 1947. The first companies in there were Texaco. For those of you who've been around a long time, you'll remember that. And over the years, since 1947, that oil field in San Ardo has grown to be a very important asset, not only to the county in helping sustaining Monterey County's economy, but it's also very important to California's oil production. There is no hydraulic fracturing used in San Ardo. It's very straightforward, and I'll explain that to you. There's 7.2 million barrels of oil equivalent that come out of San Ardo. That's the 2013 figure, making it California's 4th largest oil producing county. So this is supporting a big economy and a lot of jobs. And what's important for you to know is that the economic impacts for the local economic output is $186 million annually at this time. And these are figures based on the low price of oil. So you can imagine when oil is down around $35 to $40 a barrel, but when it was up at 60 and 70, you can imagine how much greater, because it is taxed. And there are 732 direct full-time jobs in the oil fields at this time. There's $73 million in labor income that's generated by the oil fields in San Ardo. The impacts on the taxes paid, there's $38 million in federal taxes, and there's $35 million in state and local taxes. So it's significant to not only Monterey County's economy, but it has an impact on the state as well.
The Salad Bowl of America is a national strategic agricultural asset equal in importance to any oil field in America. Yet the frackers talk about oil jobs without recognizing the risks to other industries while wanting this type of contract. They want unlimited use of water. They want to pump millions of gallons of contaminated water back into the ground while shifting to the local people, that means you, all the long-term risks that contaminated fluids will not ever touch our irrigation or drinking water. Now that's, based on my long-term government contracting experience, is an incredibly unfair contract. They get all the profit, we get all the risk. But the fracking industry doesn't care. In 2012, up in North County where I live, thumper seismic trucks showed up in Aromas evaluating the feasibility of doing fracking there. Folks, oil companies are actively seeking to frack in Monterey County. And if allowed, fracking will stretch from South County to North County, past all the cities along the way. Now, in 2014, the State Groundwater Sustainability Act was approved, requiring the county to recharge the local overdrafted water basin. Yet the fracking industry wants unlimited use of water from Salinas Valley, while ag, vintners, and residents continually conserve, as you know, and many are paying higher prices. That's not fair, but the frackers don't care.
So, you saw the numbers on the oil industry. That pales in comparison to the agricultural industry in Monterey County. 8.2 billion annual revenues, 73,000 local jobs. Or tourism, 2.3 billion in annual revenues, or 22,000 jobs. At risk when the water goes bad. Now can we just wait around and wait for Chevron, ExxonMobil, and Shell to contaminate our water? No, we can't. Just ask the people of Flint, Michigan.
So why does energy independence matter? Well, 37% of the oil that's produced in California is 37% of the oil that's utilized in California is from all the production in California. California's production basically stays in California. 63% of what we use in our daily use of oil and gas is imported from foreign countries and other states. 30% is from Saudi Arabia, 22% from Ecuador, 18% from Iraq, and 8% from Colombia. We also receive oil from Canada, and as I said, from other states in these great United States. Every barrel of oil we produce in California means one less that we have to import. And imported oil does not have the same economic benefits, and more importantly, it does not have the same very strict regulations that the oil fields in California operate under.
Please consider these observations, scientific findings, and facts about local impacts of local fracking. Fracking along the Salinas River and injecting contaminated fracking fluids into the water basin in the most seismically active oil field in America is a formula for economic disaster for the salad bowl of America if pollution leaks into the single source of water for this valley. Here's some supporting information that the LA Times brought out earlier this year about the USGS study of earthquakes in Oklahoma. So from 2009 to 2015, there was a spike in earthquakes directly correlated to injection well operations. It went from 3 per year of magnitude to 3 earthquakes a year, magnitude 3 and below. That had been going on for centuries. By 2005, they had 809 earthquakes up to magnitude 5 in Oklahoma. Now, meanwhile, in Monterey County, every 23 years, we average a magnitude 6 or higher earthquake. Park Field is recognized as one of the most active seismic areas in the world, and we have a major fault going through the county, the San Andreas Fault. Using seismic-inducing technology in the most seismically active oil field in America threatens local businesses and residents. That's not safe, and fracking industry doesn't care.
If I can say one thing about all this, truth matters. Truth matters. What's the truth? Well, Chevron, ExxonMobil, and Shell are injecting dangerous chemicals and toxic wastewater into our protected aquifers in violation of the federal Clean Drinking Water Act. Now I say Chevron, ExxonMobil, and Shell. Why do I say ExxonMobil and Shell? They wholly own Era Energy, which is simply a corporate lawyer trick for disguising true ownership. These giant oil companies are injecting all kinds of dangerous chemicals into our water. So what is this initiative really about? Toxic wastewater. This is a pint of 7.5 million gallons of toxic material injected into our protected aquifers every single day. Every day. And why do they do that? Because they want to make greater profits. With all of this wastewater going into the earth, what are the risks? Well, it includes benzene, toluene, radioactive substances, all kinds of carcinogens, things that are no good for our children and grandchildren, and certainly no good for lettuce. Now, the oil industry says we're going to shut down the industry. As Ed so clearly pointed out, Proposition Z, Measure Z, does not shut down existing oil operations. It allows for the continuing operations of existing production. That's over 1,500 wells in San Arno. And it allows the industry to rework and drill those wells, which they are doing now. The only good thing that can come about from this is treating it. And they're already treating 1/3. They can certainly treat the remaining 2/3. And it's not that expensive compared to what they're worth and the kind of profits they're getting out of this ground. The leading wastewater treatment company called Parsons estimates that the cost of treatment is perhaps 25 cents to over 50 cents a barrel. Okay, so instead of the huge profits they're making today, they may have to pay $50,000 or $100,000 more dollars in costs per day in order to treat the water and make it clean for reinjection. Is that too much to ask? Of course it's not, to protect our future and our family's future.
What is hidden in this petition and this initiative is a key thing which says banning all forms of stimulation. You have to understand that the San Ardo oil fields really come from an ancient sea deep down underground. That is salt water, sea water, water that is captured down below ground, beginning at about 2,600 feet under the surface of the earth. That water is transported without any chemical use, purely by heating up that very same water, the seawater, heating that up and creating steam. And that steam is injected into the ground to bring the oil up, because the oil underground is at the same viscosity as ketchup. And when you put the steam to it, that oil becomes the viscosity of salad oil. So it's easier to bring up above ground at that viscosity. So steam is very important. And this initiative, although it's called anti-fracking, and there is no fracking in San Ardo, and hasn't been, because it's not necessary. The geology in San Ardo and southern Monterey County does not call for fracking. It's not necessary. It's not needed because of the fact that you can bring this up just using steam. And one of the interesting things about bringing that water up is a third of that water is distilled by 3 enormous reverse osmosis facilities that basically desalinate and clean that water so that that water goes into settling ponds and then ultimately into percolation ponds, adding 2.2 million gallons of water a day to the Salinas River groundwater basin. So the lost jobs, the lost taxes, more energy imports, it's really promoting a very deceptive and poorly written measure that would shut down. It would shut down in 5 years all oil and gas production in Monterey County. I would like to just take a show of hands here. How many people have ever heard of an accident, an oil-generated accident in the oil fields in San Ardo?
I saw an oil accident once driving down there, and oil was pouring down the hillside.
There has never been an oil accident down in San Ardo. So who are the neighbors that you have in this county who want to oppose this initiative and continue to support the jobs and the economic and beneficial impacts of the San Ardo oil fields? The Monterey County Farm Bureau. Do you think that if there was a concern about what was going on next to all our farmlands and affecting our groundwater basin, that the farmers would be for it? That's because there hasn't been a negative impact. That's because the farmers know, because they farm down there and they are neighbors, and Monterey County Farm Bureau is against this initiative.
If you want to get past the industries story, just understand one thing. There is no shutdown. And then we can argue about the facts. I guess I became a lawyer because my dad said I argued too much. But he also said, you're entitled to your argument, kid, but not your own facts. And shutdown is not a fact, it's a lie. We can't wait. We need to deal with this problem now. And it does not harm anybody but a tiny 1/100 of 1% of the profits of these giant global multi-trillion-dollar corporations. They make, by the way, these oil companies, these 3 oil companies last year, made $23 billion in profits. $23 billion. And they can't afford $50,000 to $100,000 a day to protect our future, our children's future, and our grandkids' future? Yes, they can. Just like we can pass Measure Z. Sí se puede.
So, they don't care. I'm telling you, that the industry wants what it wants and they don't care. But if you do care about local impacts, if you do care about large earthquakes could easily cause toxic fracking fluids to leak, if you do care about 100,000 non-oil jobs going on while current jobs get to go, if you do care about protecting your children's future, then vote yes to ban fracking. Now, let me talk about the California State Grange, which is the oldest farm organization representing farmers across this country, this nation, and California. In 2015, they passed a resolution that fracking should be banned in Monterey County and injection wells should be banned. And they did it because they found that it's the wrong value to be fracking and the danger to farming is too great.
Would you agree, Ed, that this is your petition here?
Yes.
Okay, you just heard Ed tell you that this is their petition.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a number of versions. I think they got the link.
Okay, well here it says, in this, here's a line under effect. It says that, excuse me, I'm trying to get the print to a size I can read it. It says, prohibit the use of any land within the county's unincorporated area for hydraulic fracturing treatments, acid well stimulation treatments, and other types of well stimulation treatments. Other types. That's the hidden and deceptive part of this petition. Everybody who signed the petition was asked, are you against fracking? And people said yes, of course, because fracking has that kind of negative connotation from what we've heard about things in Oklahoma and other places that supposedly are attributed to fracking. Let me make this perfectly clear. There is no fracking in San Ardo.
Give them a chance to respond to that. Yeah, and I'll do my best to keep track of time.
This is not about a field trip to San Ardo.
So we'll give
This
you
is
2
about
minutes.
the ordinance that will be passed when Measure Z passes. And it defines well stimulation treatments that are banned as not including steam flooding, water flooding, cyclical steaming, and other methods that are currently in use. That's what the initiative reads. Apparently, David didn't read it all.
And you have another minute to go.
Folks, the computer you're using today, there's not going to be a new computer next year or 5 years from now. We're going to use the same doggone computer we have for years. That's what he just told you. It's a false story to try to take you away about the fact that your future can be changed, like fracking is going on in many other places around the country. In fact, if you go up to Wyoming, you'll find Stanford University went through and studied after the last 10 years that groundwater is being affected. Fracking comes in, the latest study from Stanford shows that groundwater can be affected. So this story that, oh, don't vote for banning fracking because, well, it will never happen. Well, in Santa Barbara, in Kern County, 20 seconds. Give me a break, okay? This is trying to mislead you, and because of that, you should make a decision to ban fracking in Monterey County.
So here's the question that was asked. Please define fracking and the difference with what is being done in South County and with the current methods, the impact on the environment. So we'll start with David and then we'll go to Jen.
Okay, please define fracking. From my knowledge, fracking is the use of a fluid. I can't describe that fluid to you because I'm not that familiar with it. And I understand it's utilized in a number of other places, but it's not utilized in San Ardo. So the second part of the question, Steve, is define the difference. Is that what you said?
That's right.
Okay, the difference
What's
is,
in place, what's being done in South County?
what is being done in South County is what I described earlier. It's the use of the salt water. There's about 10 gallons of salt water to a gallon of oil that is brought up with the use of this steam injection. And that water, when it's brought up, three things happen. One, a third of that water is distilled through the reverse osmosis facilities and put into settling ponds and then into percolation ponds. And as I said, contributes 2.2 million gallons a day to the Salinas River groundwater basin. The other third of that water is returned.
Two-thirds.
No, there's three purposes for that water. And there's, so a third of that water is sent back down as wastewater injection. And that's all it is water. There is no chemicals added to that water. It is just salt water. And that's what gets injected in there. So, and the reason, and I doubt that came from the oil fields unless you were trespassing. But the point is that it's certainly going to be discolored. It's not going to be pure because that water picks up pigments, just like wine picks up pigments from the skin of grapes. And so you have color in that water when it goes back down, but it's got no chemical, period. Did I answer that?
Surprising to me that the public relations official doesn't know what fracking is. It's a very simple process. It's been developed over years. It started out with a few thousand gallons of water was used. It's now up to at least 164,000 gallons in the California area that is used, and a toxic slew is made. It's a chemical combination of 73 to 125 toxins that allow you to, and sand is injected down into the ground in high pressure, and it fractures the rock, and it leaves the little sand there to allow later on when the water, the contaminated water, poisonous water is brought back out and then put someplace. The industry's process for doing that is putting all that back down into a local injection well. David's right, cyclic steam injection is going on down there, but he's acting as if, well, it's this other stuff, the new technology is not going to happen. It's going. The people want to do it. They're doing it in other parts of California. Have you seen them run around here going, I'm not going to do fracking here? Will they sign that? Will you sign that form tonight? No. And so what fracking does, now let me tell you what's in that, the type of stuff that's in that liquid. Antifreeze in your car. Would you drink it? I mean, this may be David Armanasco should leave, but you wouldn't drink your radiator fluid. And there's cancer-causing oils and it's chemicals in there. Let me talk to you about the difference between what's going on.
30 seconds.
In Fresno, it's 30 years since DDT was used as a surface pesticide. It's still in their water. This technology says, let's take the cancer-causing stuff, let's stick it under the ground in the most highly active oil field in America. What's coming up, even the cyclic steam has some pollution. This stuff is highly polluted. That's the difference. It threatens our water. Vote to ban fracking.